The world is holding its breath. In capitals across the globe, leaders and citizens alike sense that something fundamental is shifting. A new and dangerous era is dawning. The world is holding its breath. Every headline, every alert, every rumor of conflict adds to the mounting tension, as if the planet itself is bracing for impact. The world is holding its breath. From bustling cities to remote villages, uncertainty hangs in the air, and the sense of unease is impossible to ignore. Far from the sun-drenched shores of the Philippines, two ancient powers, China and Iran, are forging a dangerous bond. Their partnership is not born of convenience, but of shared ambition and mutual resentment toward the West. In Beijing and Tehran, a pact is being sealed, not just for trade, but to challenge American dominance. This alliance is about rewriting the rules of global power, and they are determined to tip the balance. China, the economic titan, and Iran, master of asymmetric warfare, see the US as their main adversary. Together, they believe they can undermine American influence and reshape the world order. Their alliance is now focused on a new flashpoint: the Philippines. This archipelago, once overlooked, is now the center of a brewing storm. Once a peripheral player, the Philippines is now a central piece on the geopolitical chessboard. Its location and alliances have made it a prize and a liability. Its partnership with the US has made it America's forward base in Asia and a prime target. The presence of American troops and hardware has not gone unnoticed by rivals. The very alliance meant to protect the Philippines has painted a bullseye on its back. Every new base, every joint exercise increases the risk. The question is no longer if conflict will erupt in the Pacific, but when. The countdown has begun, and the world is watching with growing dread. The first shots may not be over Taiwan, but at American outposts across the Philippine Islands. These bases are now the front line in a new kind of war. Military planners in Washington and Manila now confront the nightmare scenario, a devastating preemptive strike that could cripple defenses before a response is possible. Imagine Chinese missiles raining down on airfields, targeting runways and command centers in a matter of minutes, leaving chaos in their wake. Iranian-backed cyber attacks plunging Manila into darkness, crippling communications, and sowing confusion among both military and civilians. And drone swarms overwhelming defenses, exploiting every weakness, and making traditional military responses nearly impossible. The Philippines could become the first battleground in a war between giants, a tragic pawn in a struggle for global supremacy. Its cities and people would bear the brunt of a conflict not of their own making. This is not alarmism, but a sober assessment of a rapidly deteriorating security landscape. Experts warn that the window for diplomacy is closing fast. The pieces are moving, alliance is hardening, rhetoric escalating. Each day brings new provocations and fewer opportunities for peace. Joint naval drills and aggressive Chinese maneuvers in the South China Sea are clear warnings. The region is becoming a powder keg ready to ignite. For the people of the Philippines, the distant thunder of global conflict is growing louder and more threatening. Everyday life is now shadowed by the spectre of war. The era of comfortable neutrality is over. The nation must now choose its path, knowing the risks that come with every decision. The Philippines stands at the center of a new age of peril. Its fate will shape the future of the entire region, and perhaps the world. The storm is no longer on the horizon, it's at the door. The world watches, waiting to see who will make the next move, and what price will be paid. What drives China and Iran together? A shared enemy, the United States. For China, US bases in Asia are seen as a strategy to contain its power. For Iran, American presence and sanctions threaten its survival. This mutual opposition has become the bedrock of a formidable partnership. Since 2019, China, Iran and Russia have held annual joint naval exercises, practicing coordinated strikes and building military interoperability. These drills are not just symbolic, they're practical preparation for a future conflict. Economically, China buys Iranian oil, defying US sanctions, while Iran receives advanced Chinese military hardware in return. This axis of authoritarianism is united not by values, but by a desire to dismantle the US-led order. China brings economic and military might. Iran brings asymmetric warfare and regional proxies. Together they present a multifaceted challenge far greater than the sum of their parts. For decades, the Philippines carefully balanced its relationships with both the United States and China, walking a diplomatic tightrope to maintain peace and stability in the region. By maintaining a stance of neutrality in the South China Sea, the country avoided direct confrontation. But that era is now over, replaced by a new, more assertive approach. Under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., The Philippines has pivoted decisively toward the United States, signaling a dramatic shift in foreign policy. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, now grants the US access to 9 strategic bases across the archipelago, many of which have been upgraded for advanced military operations and rapid deployment. Some of these bases are less than 100 miles from Taiwan, placing them squarely within China's reach and making the Philippines a critical player in any regional conflict. The Philippines is no longer just a partner in security, it's become a launchpad for US operations in Asia, with its territory now central to American strategy. The 2024 defense policy marks a historic shift, moving the military's focus from internal threats like insurgency to external ones, with China now seen as the primary concern. US military aid and new alliances with Japan, Australia, and Europe are rapidly modernizing the Philippine armed forces, bringing in advanced technology and joint training. But this new role comes at a cost. The Philippines is now indispensable to US strategy, and that makes it a prime target for its rivals, especially in times of crisis. EDCA bases are now forward-deployed American assets, daggers pointed at China's flank, ready for rapid response. In any conflict, the first move would be to break those daggers, making these bases potential flashpoints. The Philippines' strategic importance has grown dramatically, but so has its vulnerability to attack and escalation. The nation's choice has made it both a shield for its allies and a target for its adversaries. As tensions rise, the stakes for the Philippines and the entire region have never been higher. In any Pacific War scenario, military logic is clear: neutralize US power before it can respond. The most vulnerable and crucial targets, US-accessible bases in the Philippines. A preemptive strike on EDCA sites could cripple American air power, delay a counterattack, and buy China time in Taiwan. The Philippines, as America's launchpad, becomes the first domino to fall. This isn't just about Taiwan. The Philippines is also the main challenger to China's South China Sea claims. Striking the Philippines would punish a regional rival and send a chilling message to Southeast Asia. A successful attack could shatter US credibility and unravel its alliance system. The proximity of US assets is both a strength and a fatal vulnerability. China's military has spent years preparing to hold these bases at risk. The Philippines is now the likely opening battlefield of a new conflict. China brings conventional power, but Iran brings asymmetric warfare. Iran's cyber capabilities could cripple Philippine infrastructure as missiles fall. Power grids down, communications cut, chaos unleashed. Iranian drone technology, proven in the Middle East and Ukraine, could be shared with China or used to overwhelm Philippine defenses. Swarms of cheap drones could target ships, ports and energy facilities, stretching the military to its limits. Iran's proxy warfare model could inspire support for local insurgents, forcing the Philippines to fight on multiple fronts. The result? A messy, protracted conflict that exhausts and destabilizes the nation. Iran's specialty is turning conventional wars into unwinnable quagmires. The Philippines faces threats both seen and unseen. The groundwork for a coordinated Iran-China action is already visible. Annual Security Belt naval drills show growing military trust and operational coordination. Philippine government agencies have faced a surge of sophisticated cyber attacks, often traced to Chinese state-sponsored groups. These are not random. They're systematic intelligence operations, mapping vulnerabilities for future exploitation. China's aggression in the South China Sea is escalating, with violent confrontations and deliberate provocations. These actions test Philippine resolve and gauge US response, normalizing higher levels of violence. The Ukraine war shows how this axis coordinates. North Korea supports Russia, Iran provides drones, and China offers diplomatic cover. A similar playbook could unfold in the Pacific, with Iran providing asymmetric support and North Korea creating diversions. The signs are clear. The axis is preparing for conflict. The whispers of war are becoming impossible to ignore. The Philippines is racing to modernize its military, shifting focus to external defense for the first time in generations. New warships, fighter jets, and US-supplied missile systems are arriving, but the upgrades may be too late. The country lacks a comprehensive air defense network, leaving bases exposed to a saturation missile strike. China could launch hundreds of missiles in an opening salvo, overwhelming Philippine defenses. Public awareness of the threat remains low, and political will is fragile. Tough, expensive measures are needed, but the urgency isn't widely shared. Political volatility adds risk. A future leader could reverse course and seek accommodation with Beijing. This uncertainty undermines long-term defense planning. China and Iran are playing the long game, betting the Philippines will remain unprepared. The clock is ticking and the nation's fate hangs in the balance.